Hey guys, welcome to today's webinar. Welcome to this series, which is all about how to lower stress in times of chaos. I'm Sarah Zastro. My business is Cultivate Balance, and I teach people practical tools to manage stress in their lives. So we all have to process the emotions and the stress and even in some cases grief surrounded by COVID-19. I was reading an article that said a lot of people are experiencing the stages of grief, and I got thinking about it, and I am too. I know that it's kind of started off as a little bit of denial and like there's no way this is real, this is fake news, and then kind of as I worked my way through the stages of grief, now I feel like I'm to the acceptance stage, but it's still kind of crazy when we think about how many changes have happened, how much uncertainty and panic and things like that. And so it makes sense that we are experiencing the stages of grief. And so if you are kind of swimming through those stages, you're feeling really overwhelmed right now, I encourage you to process those emotions in your own time. However, if you're ready to take the next steps to work your way out of that, that's what today's webinar is about. So we can feel this emotion, we can feel this stress, grieve for the changes of COVID-19, but we can't live there permanently. So today we're going to talk about 3 tips to help you break out of this stress and emotion, and we're going to learn how to lower our stress level, find healthy ways to cope, and find inner peace and calm even in the midst of a pandemic. So what is stress? There are all different kinds of stress you can see here, but the pandemic at hand really combines all of these. So the physical stress is that you are physically stuck in your house. You can't do the things you normally would do, and whether that's working or seeing your family or going to the grocery store, being outside, we are physically restrained as a result of that. Mentally, it's scary. There's a lot of unknowns, a lot of uncertainty. Emotionally, it can cause fear and panic, anxiety, hopelessness, and the list goes on and on. A lot of people are dealing with financial implications of COVID-19 in the, whether you are a business owner or you're in the service industry or you've been laid off, there are going to be some huge effects of this that probably aren't going to go away very shortly. And so it's important that we don't dismiss the financial aspects of COVID-19 as well. And then the environmental, that's going to be the disease itself. So are you at high risk? Are you worried about family members who are at high risk? That sort of thing. And then the social implication is that we are isolated. We are stuck away or hidden away from family, friends, coworkers, the public, and that can cause stress as well. And we'll talk about why in today's webinar. So the responsibility pie, this is an ugly pie, right? And this is the ugly truth. So the responsibility pie discusses the difference between what you are responsible for and what you are in control of. And note that these are 2 very different things. The things you are responsible for are your kids, your spouse, your work, your parents, if you have aging parents or other family members that you are responsible for their care, safety of your family, there are financial responsibilities, and a lot of other things that you might be responsible for. Maybe you're in charge of whatever, the church committee or the PTO or different things like that. But the really only thing that you have 100% control over is you. Okay, so we are responsible for a whole mess of different things, right? Sometimes we could list, several different things, up to a dozen, maybe more than that. But the only thing that we truly are 100% in control of is ourselves. Okay, now kids, we all know that their personalities develop and you don't always have control. Same thing with spouse. It doesn't always work as a cohesive family unit, especially when you're stuck with your spouse 24 hours a day, right? Hopefully that's going okay for everybody, but we all know there's going to be some divorces and some babies as a result of this. And so it's important to realize that that is a stressor. The other thing is work, whether you're a business owner or you are working outside or inside the home, it doesn't matter. There are responsibilities that you do not necessarily control every aspect of. Parents and family, we know how hard it is to convince those elderly family members that staying home is important, right? Card club is canceled, Grandma. I had to have that conversation and it didn't go well. Let's just say that. And so the only piece of the pie that you get is yours. You only have control over your piece of the pie, not the whole thing. Even though you're responsible for a lot more than that, you are only in control of you. As for the rest, let the chips fall where they may. Okay, I hear this all the time. But Sarah, that's easier said than done. Easier said than done. You know what? Such is life and marriage and children. That's all easier said than done. Everything is easier said than done, right? Except admitting when you make a mistake, right? So it's important that we note that life is not always easy, okay? But we do it anyway. We do it anyway, and sometimes that's necessary. And we're going to talk today about how to reduce the stress load associated with this. Everything that's easier said than done. So what does stress look like? What can we see either in the signs that we're overtly displaying to other people, or what do we notice in our family members? So are we withdrawing? Are we isolating ourselves? Do we physically look worried with our body language and our facial expressions? Are we picking at our knuckles, our nails, our hair, our teeth, our whatever, face, different things like that? That's another sign of stress. Probably the most common sign of stress is people chewing their nails, right? And since nobody can get manicures right now, you'll notice this big time after we start to venture outside, okay? Or are you really angry? Maybe not you, maybe it's your children, your spouse, other things like that. Sometimes we overtly show signs of stress as anger, as crying, as, different things like that. And so what does stress look like for you and for your family? And it's important that you know this for yourself and for each member of your family, because it probably does look different. And then, what does it feel like? So you can only answer this for yourself. Physically, this may look like physical pain. Okay, this is kind of my area of expertise here. So physical pain, stress manifests itself in headaches or migraines, in neck pain, back pain. If you have a hip or a knee or a foot injury, shoulder injury, things like that, that pain is going to be worse when we feel a lot of stress, okay? The other thing is we can just have sore muscles, tightness. We talked about headaches. You'll notice high blood pressure, your heart rate is increasing, and your breathing rate is increasing. And we get this stress response. We call it the stress cascade. Okay, so you can picture like a graph going up, 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 and then crashing down. Okay, and so what happens is when we feel stress, our body sends us a rush of adrenaline and it steps up this graph. It's like a staircase going all the way up, up, up. And when we get to the staircase, there's nothing there to catch us. So we fall right back down. That's our body forcing us to slow down. Okay. Now, what this looks like, excuse me, is what this looks like is a migraine headache that forces you to go to bed and, put ice on your forehead and shut all the lights off and sit quiet for a bit. Or what it looks like is you physically shutting down. You just withdraw, go into your room. Maybe it looks like a blowout fight. So stress at the top of this staircase, the top of this cascade, looks different for everybody. However, we have a choice. We can choose to abort mission before that happens. We can choose to walk back down the staircase on our own terms, but that has to be a conscious choice, because stress in our body emitting this adrenaline is unconscious, it's subconscious. So it automatically does it as a response to stress, and our choice to calm down. Our body either forces us to do it when we get to the top, or we have to consciously make that effort to do so. And if we don't, this is what that looks like, okay? So, and these things get worse as we get to the top of that staircase, okay? So if this is your home, as you get toward 3, 4 o'clock and your kids are cranky and you've got 400 things to do and the house is a pigsty, right? That's when we're close to the end of our rope. That's when we get a headache. That's when we pull out a drink. That's when we, whatever, scream at our kids, right? And so that is what stress feels like. Now, this is a part that you might not know. Mentally, our memory doesn't work as well. Our fine motor skills, our dexterity isn't as good. Okay, you ever cut yourself while you're cooking dinner after a long day? That's why. Our problem solving, our cause and effect, our complex thinking, in our consequences, action and consequences is slowed down. So we don't think about that as quickly. And then also kind of in this category, kind of across all three, are changes in our sleep. Okay, anybody notice that they're not sleeping as well lately? Yeah, probably. All right, good. I'm looking at the comments here if you're watching the record, so just so you know. And then emotionally, what does this look like? Mood swings might look like anger, might look like sadness. We talked about crying, hopelessness, and then anxiousness or anxiety. So stress feels like a whole lot of different things, and it's important to know what it feels like to you. Okay, now what causes you the most stress? Think about the actual situation in your head. So is it a change of plans? Is it when the kids are throwing a tantrum? Is it when you're fighting with your significant other, with your spouse? What situation causes you the most stress? And then from here, let's make an action plan. So in a perfect world, if you had perfect sleep the night before, you were well rested, you had enough money that you weren't worried about that, you had enough resources that you weren't feeling pulled in a lot of different directions, you felt good physically, emotionally, mentally, and every other way, how would you respond to that situation? So we'll just take the example that your kid is screaming on the floor. That causes stress, right? And as much as we would like to just ignore it and walk away, it doesn't always happen because that gets at our nerves. It just picks at you, right? So how would we respond to that situation in a perfect world? Okay, what do? Do you let them cry it out? Do you reason with them? Give them a choice, right? What does that look like for you? And for your kids and your situation, you get to choose. So how does that look? Or if it's the spouse example, your spouse comes in, your significant other, whatever, and you know that a fight is a brewing, right? If you've been in a relationship for very long, you know that sometimes that happens. So how are you going to handle that situation, right? What are you going to do in a perfect world? Now, since it isn't a perfect world, how can we take that response and make it realistic? I'll show you what I'm going to do. What I do, what stresses me out the most, is a change in the plans when the schedule won't allow it. I feel the most pressure in this situation. I have no idea why, but that's what it is. Maybe it's because I'm a control freak, but I don't like it when things don't go the way I thought they would, okay, or when things feel out of control. So what I do, this is how I respond to this, is I take 5. So regroup, take 5 deep breaths, and reevaluate what are the priorities here. Okay, so sometimes when it's a change in plans, whatever wins that quote unquote argument is whatever the highest priority is. Now, if it's a toddler throwing on the floor, the priority is a little bit different. If it's your spouse, the priority is going to be different. So what causes you the most stress? How would you respond in an ideal world? And then how are you actually going to respond tomorrow when that thing actually happens? So it's just good to have that situation in your head. That way you can be prepared, because then it doesn't surprise us. It doesn't catch us off guard. And we all know that as much as we don't like to be control freaks, when things don't match our expectations, that's what causes stress. So if you can be prepared for that, it will lower the stress that you feel when that situation arises. So chronic stress, the stress that we may be feeling from the pandemic, the stress that we feel from whatever it is, elderly parents or work stress, or you've got 4 kids at home and things just aren't going well. Chronic stress that we feel day after day, there are some important healthy practices that we can put in place to just overall lower our stress level. Daily gratitude practice. We're going to dive into that a little bit later. And these all are ways that are going to help us walk back down that staircase, right? They're going to help us calm down off of the stress cascade. And it does that by it burns up the extra adrenaline that our body releases during this stressful event. And keep in mind, you probably have 30 or 40 or 800 stressful events a day. That is anything that causes you stress or pressure or feeling overwhelmed or things like that. So daily gratitude practice is going to help. Daily exercise. This is another one. We aren't as active when we're stuck in our houses. So making daily exercise a priority is important, okay? Healthy foods and eating your vegetables, that includes those vegetables, and plenty of water. We all know that this is a good one here, and so make sure you're making that a priority, even though nobody sees you, eating a spoonful of cookie dough out of the refrigerator. So fill your home and your phone with peaceful things. We spend a lot of time on our phones, and that's okay. At the end of today, I'm going to give you the opportunity to download some of our lock screens. It's just good things that help you remember every time you open your phone, whatever the lock screen says. So I think there's 4 different ones. The one I have on my phone right now says peaceful mind, grateful heart. There's another one that says choose joy. There's another one that says search for bright spots. And so we'll talk about those at the end of today, but it's important to fill your surroundings with things that bring you peace and joy, just for the fact that they bring you peace and joy. Essential oils is another one. Diffuse some lavender. Again, fill your home with things that bring you peace and joy. Get plenty of sleep. There's a whole other for both plenty of sleep and for mindfulness, there's a whole other webinar on those. So we won't dive into those today, but just know that those are super, super important. And then the last 2, get creative and get outside. This is really interesting here, but there's a lot of research showing that creativity and having an expression of your emotions in things that you're able to create is a great way to manage stress, to lower that stress level. And so that's a really, really good one. I cut out a bunch of paper hearts and put them on my windows for a world of hearts. And, different things like that, just that help you to have an expression of yourself. And it's a fun way to decorate for whatever holiday you're in. Easter just passed, and so that's what I did. It was kind of fun. And then get outside, get some sunshine, get some fresh air. Maybe not on days like today, but getting outside will lower your stress level. It's amazing what a little sunshine can do. Okay, so our 3 tips for today. We talked about these are going to be simple things to put in place. First off, this is my daily routine. It is a loose structure. There are no time limits. These are just the things that I do throughout the day, and it's important that this doesn't have just Netflix on it, right? Having some sort of certainty, some sort of routine in a time of such uncertainty will give you a lot of peace of mind. There needs to be some constants in your life that you can rely on. And if your kids specifically are not adjusting well to the coronavirus, then this can be an area where you work together to set up a good daily routine that works for them and works for you. Okay, so this is just mine. And what I want you to notice here is that we plan in peace. So I plan in times that I know are going to be times that bring me peace, times that bring me joy. Okay, so I get up at about the same time every day. I do my daily gratitude practice. I do my daily devotional, spend some time with Jesus, right? This is important, especially in this time. And if you're not a faithful person, then that's fine. You can just do some meditation. Then I shower, get dressed, eat breakfast, do a little reading. I like to clean up my space in the morning. So I usually do my dishes from breakfast and clean up the house a little bit, sanitize those doorknobs and light switches and whatever else to make sure that those germs are staying away here. And then I do a little learning, a little personal growth or development. And maybe that's work or school for you in your house. It doesn't matter, but getting a little done in the morning will definitely help, okay? Then eat lunch, have a little quiet time. Again, this is really important, whether you're working from home or you're laid off or you're implementing this with your children. Having a little bit of quiet time after lunch is a good way to sort of get some R&R in your day. And everybody can be separate during this, especially if you've got kids just at each other's throats all the time. Allowing this time to be separate is good. And if they want to read or sit or do nothing or listen to music, that's fine. But having some designated quiet time is really good. Afternoon work, again, maybe that's work or school or whatever, and then exercise. Some people exercise in the morning. I prefer to do it in the afternoon as a way to separate the stress from my quote-unquote work day with the stress from my quote-unquote home life. Okay, and this is something that I teach a lot for working professionals when I talk to businesses, is to use exercise as you time, right? That's me time. And I use it to separate the stressful times in my day. Okay. And so this is the same thing goes, even though we're in the coronavirus, even though I'm not coming home from work, I still want to use that exercise as a separator from my quote unquote work day and my home life, right? And then be creative. Do something creative every day. It's a good thing to do, good practice to get into, and it does lower stress level. There's some interesting research on that. Have dinner and then do something fun, a game night, a movie night. My husband and I rode quads the other night. It was just a good way to incorporate fun into our day. And then, end with a movie night. Okay. Number 2 is our 3D effect, our double dose of dopamine for the gratitude practice. Every morning I do my gratitude practice as my coffee is brewing. So I think about 3 bright spots or 3 good things that happened yesterday. And these are simple things, not overarching ideas, not, oh, I'm thankful for my family and my faith and my whatever car, right? These are simple moments that you are thankful for from the day before. So I had a really good cup of coffee. The sunrise yesterday morning was beautiful. I taught my dog a new trick, right? My kid focused for 10 whole minutes, right? Those simple things that are really, really important. And then what's also good, kind of a bonus here, is to share with your family around the dinner table. You will be it is interesting to notice or to have your kids especially share the things that they're thankful for. It will completely change the way that you the atmosphere around your dinner table. It will change the way that you think, and it rewires your brain to be more positive because you're constantly searching for those bright spots because you know you're going to have to write them down tomorrow. So it's a good way to help yourself be more positive. And then number 3 is to talk about our stress and mental health. So our body releases oxytocin in times of stress. This is the cuddle hormone. You might have heard of it before. And oxytocin does a number of things. So one that you probably didn't know is that oxytocin makes us want to be more social. Okay, so it encourages social sharing. Okay, so you might have noticed that with all this stress, all you've been doing or all you want to do is call your friend or call your mom or call your sister or whatever. And that's because this oxytocin that is released during a quote unquote stressful event is encouraging us to be more social. Okay, give into that. Okay, what can you do? Give into it. Talk about your stress and mental health. A problem shared is a problem halved. So share the things that you are struggling with for 2 reasons. Number 1 is it helps you to get it off your chest, and it helps the other person to feel like they're not so alone. If you're struggling with something, probably they are too, and it's important to share those things, especially in times like this. So sometimes if you don't share what's on your mind very often, especially when you're talking about feeling depressed, feeling hopeless, feeling anxious, things like that, this can be difficult. But what an easy way to do is that it's easy after you get started. So you can say, I hate it when whatever, this situation happens. I hate it when my kid throws a tantrum for the 4th time today and it's 8 o'clock in the morning. I hate it when whatever. Everything piles up and I've got 100 things to do and I get one more email of somebody asking me X, Y, or Z. I hate it, And so things like that is a good way to prompt somebody else to say, I hate that too. Me too. Me too. I'm in the same boat as you. And again, helping people feel like they're not so alone. You're helping to share this load. They're probably feeling similar things. And so that is important to talk about our stress and mental health at this time. But social distancing is not social isolation. So every single day, even if you live at home, call someone on the phone, okay? So that you don't feel so isolated. Talk to the people in your house. If you've got little kids, you can talk to them, that's good to do, but make sure that you're talking to adults, okay? So if you've got roommates, significant other, talking with them every single day about the things that you're feeling, the things that are going on. Writing a letter to a nursing home or assisted living facility. You guys know I go to 13 nursing homes a week, and they are struggling right now. You think this is isolating? Imagine being in a situation where you can't leave your room, right? Do a Zoom call happy hour. There's another game that I have downloaded on my phone. It's called Evil Apples, and it's basically apples to apples, but it's the app version. So it's really fun, and it's a great way to be social. There's a chat feature, so you can chat with your friends while you're playing the game. So it's really, really a great thing to do to stay social and not feel so isolated. Okay, and then here are a few tips that might help you to lower stress today. So we talked about the practical habits to put into place, and here are some things that will help lower that stress right now. So cook something you normally wouldn't. If you like to cook, if you like to experiment in the kitchen, try something new. My husband and I made hibachi steak like they do at Genji the other night on our grill, and it was so fun. Bake a fun treat. It's fun to make different things that you normally wouldn't. There's fun Easter treats right now and all different kinds of ideas on Pinterest. Do a game night. Get creative. We talked about that. Learn something new. I said learn something new on Facebook and got a little bit of flack for it. But this doesn't have to be, you're not learning crazy things based on an online class. Google a different way to braid your hair. I figured out how to braid my hair so that it looked like I had a mohawk. Like, it doesn't have to be rocket science or computer programming. Learn something new that's fun. It was a 3-minute YouTube video that I did, okay? And I've been talking about it for 3 weeks. So it doesn't have to be crazy, right? But learning something new will help your brain to be stimulated in a different way. You can also try self-care. Take a bath, do a pedicure, manicure, facial, whatever helps you to feel good, to feel peace and comfort. Practice some mindfulness, do some stretching. We talked about that gratitude practice. And then these are kind of some fun ones. There's some good organizations putting on virtual tours right now. I know that some of the big museums did them. I did a virtual tour of a dairy farm that was kind of interesting. Learned about how milk and cheese and yogurt are made, and that was really, really a fun thing to do. You can also read a book. It can be whatever you want it to be. If you want to learn something new, read a self-help book or a skill book or a novel. It does not matter, but something to relieve that stress is a great way. And then create a power playlist. This is an awesome topic that I teach my pain clients to do. And what it is a power playlist helps you feel whatever way you want it to. Okay, so I teach my clients to have 3. One for calming, like inner peace. And so that is, maybe you play soft, easy listening music. Maybe it's just gentle melody. It's a playlist that helps you feel that peace, inner peace and calming. And then I have one for energy. So it's a playlist that energizes your body. Okay, so I play classic rock songs and songs that make me feel energized, songs that make me feel alive, songs that make me feel purpose, right? So that I can play that list or play that playlist and I know it's going to be like a switch with me. It's going to be great and I'm going to be energized from it. And then also you can make these for whatever desired feeling you want to feel. So maybe you make one for feeling happy. Maybe you make one for bedtime. Maybe you make one for whatever. Feeling the peace and the grace of God. That's another good one too that a lot of my clients make. So create a power playlist for however you want to feel. All right, guys, so I hope that you found this helpful. Our 3 practical tips from today, just to recap, are to create some sort of loose schedule, to do a daily gratitude practice, and to talk about the stress and mental health with a friend. You can also join our Facebook community if you're not already a member. And then I talked about those lock screens here. If you want to get those lock screens, I'm going to email the link to everybody, and you can pick whichever one you want. It'll show you some different ones, and it's just a good reminder every time you open your phone to find peace, to find joy, to search for bright spots, and so yeah, I hope you guys have a great day. Let us know if you have questions in the comments below, or you can always shoot me a PM. My phone number is there, my email, whatever works better for you. I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you, thank you, thank you for coming, and we will see you next time.